Have you ever noticed that some of the things quietly controlling your life are the things you never questioned? A morning ritual you call normal. A quick scroll that became routine, a snack, a show, a website you visit without thinking. None of them looks dangerous. None of them looks dramatic. They are small, familiar, comforting. But what if the things we consider harmless are the very stuff quietly shaping our days, shaping our energy, and slowly taking away something we didn't realize was so fragile? Our freedom to choose. We must give up many things to which we are addicted, considering them to be good. Otherwise, courage will vanish, which should continually test itself. Greatness of soul will be lost, which can't stand out unless it disdains as petty what the mob regards as most desirable. Seneca, Moral Letters. Seneca isn't talking to sinners. He's not talking only about wine, gambling, or reckless behavior. He's talking to people like us, people who want to live thoughtfully, people who want to be strong inside, and he warns, if we never examine the things we cling to, especially the things we call good, we risk losing something far more important than comfort, our courage, our greatness of soul. When Seneca wrote about addictions, he wasn't only talking about substances, he was talking about inner dependency. Addiction, in his sense, is any pattern where we no longer feel able to abstain, we no longer feel we have a real choice. We defend the habit more than we question it. We find reasons to keep it, but never test life without it. The most dangerous habits are not always the ones that shock others. Often, they are the ones that nobody questions. They are socially acceptable, easily justified, and deeply woven into daily life. Seneca's warning is quiet, but sharp. If we cannot let go of what everyone desires, it becomes very hard to stand for anything deeper than what everyone is chasing. In the ancient world, addictions were tied to wine, luxury, applause, or power. In the modern world, addictions rarely look dramatic. They don't always involve substances or dangerous behavior. Instead, they slip quietly into our routines. Polished, convenient, socially accepted, and often encouraged. They appear harmless because everyone around us does them too. But these invisible addictions may be the greatest thieves of attention, clarity, energy, and inner strength today. Let's look at them with honesty, but without judgment. We check our phones just for a second, but that second repeats 100 times a day. A vibration, real or imagined, pulls our attention away from the present moment. A study called this phantom buzzing, where the mind creates signals because it's so conditioned to expect them. These micro-interruptions don't just waste time, they fracture the mind, eroding our ability to concentrate, think deeply, or stay still. Seneca warned about exactly this: a life pulled by impulses, not directed by intention. These platforms are built on the architecture of addiction: endless novelty, rapid stimulation, and unpredictable rewards. Every swipe releases a tiny burst of dopamine, small but frequent, harmless until multiplied. Over time, the brain becomes less tolerant of slowness. It becomes impatient with real books, restless during real conversations, unable to enjoy silence. The cost is subtle: a shrinking attention span, a restless mind, and the inability to be present. The Stoics called this distracted living, a life where the mind is pulled outward so often that it never returns home to itself. Modern entertainment is not inherently harmful, but the problem is the way we use it. Many people today use movies, series, or YouTube not to enjoy a story, but to escape their own streaming platforms, remove natural stopping points. Episodes roll automatically. Credits are shortened. The next piece of content is always ready. It feels harmless. I just want to relax. But there is a point where relaxation turns into avoidance. Avoidance of uncomfortable thoughts, difficult decisions, unresolved emotions, inner emptiness. The body may be resting on the couch, but the mind is not resting. It is being filled constantly with noise. Seneca would likely say, "You are not resting. You are postponing the moment when you must finally meet yourself." This is one of the most silent but powerful addictions of our time, not because it is immoral, but because it hijacks the brain's reward system in a way no natural experience can. It involves intense dopamine, high novelty, zero vulnerability, no true human connection. Over time, the brain becomes conditioned to prefer fantasy over reality. Desire becomes distorted. Energy weakens, focus collapses, emotional relationships suffer, and cloud self-respect. From a Stoic lens, the problem isn't sexuality. The Stoics were not Puritans. The problem is enslavement to impulse. As Epictetus might say, if a desire commands you, you are not its user, you are its servant. Games can sharpen reflexes, logic, and even creativity. But for many, gaming becomes a substitute for real accomplishment. In the game, goals are clear. Feedback is instant, progress is visible. The reward is guaranteed. Real life is not like that. Real growth is slower, uncertain, and uncomfortable. When the mind becomes used to game-like reward, it may start to lose interest in the slower, less predictable rewards of reality. The danger is not playing. The danger is when the game becomes more compelling than life. Your avatar grows more than your real self. Your courage is used inside a screen, but not outside of it. We consume more information in a week than ancient people consumed in a lifetime. A person can feel informed and yet deeply confused. The mind is flooded with crises they cannot influence, opinions they did not ask for, conflicts they are not part of. More information does not mean more clarity. Often, it means more. Anxiety, confusion, noise, emotional exhaustion. The mind becomes trained to react, not reflect. Epictetus warned, if a person cannot choose what to ignore, they cannot choose what to pursue. Not dramatic, not shocking, not illegal. These are small addictions, the ones people laugh about, dismiss, and normalize. But small addictions repeated daily become the architecture of a restless mind. They change mood, energy, sleep, decision-making, and the body's sense of balance. An unsteady body makes for an unsteady mind. The Stoics believed in the union of body and mind. An unbalanced body creates an unbalanced spirit. Some of the strongest addictions are not to objects or activities, but to emotional states. Some people are used to always having a problem, always feeling wronged, always finding someone to blame, always being in conflict. Drama becomes familiar, complaining feels comforting, gossip feels exciting. But these patterns weaken the soul. They keep a person small, reactive, and far away from the quiet dignity that Stoicism calls greatness of soul. These addictions seem small, they seem harmless, they seem ordinary, but their impact is profound. Fragmented attention, weakened discipline, fading inner strength, reduced patience, emotional fatigue, loss of clarity, mindless living, constant distraction. Addiction is not always dramatic. Sometimes it's as quiet as a habit you never questioned. And the danger is not in the habit itself, but in the loss of the ability to stop. That is the comfort trap the Stoics warned us about. In Buddhism, the root of suffering is called tanha, craving. And one of the deepest forms of craving is not for pleasure, but for comfort and familiarity. Buddhist texts say, "No chain is stronger than the habit a person thinks is harmless." The Buddha never condemned comfort. He only warned us about the point where comfort begins to own us, where repetition becomes identity, where desire becomes dependency, where a habit becomes the master. Freedom is not the absence of pleasure. Freedom is the ability to let go without fear. The Taoist teachings remind us that small, unseen actions create large, unseen consequences. Lao Tzu spoke often about the danger of excess, not excess in quantity, but excess in attachment. Because when we cannot stop, even gentle behaviors turn into noise, and noise clouds the natural clarity of the mind. The Tao says, "He who knows how to stop is the one who truly moves freely." Nietzsche warned of something he called the comfort disease, a state of life where nothing is technically wrong, but nothing challenges you, nothing awakens you, nothing strengthens you. He believed that a life built entirely on comfort slowly weakens the spirit. And Carl Jung added to this by saying, "What you repeat unconsciously becomes your destiny." When we surrender to comfort without awareness, we surrender to a life that chooses for us. The day shapes itself. The habits lead the way. The mind becomes a passenger, not a captain. How do we recognize when comfort has crossed the line from support to subtle imprisonment? Not by harsh self-criticism, but by gentle, honest questions. Notice the moment before you act. Did you choose this, or did it choose you? You might begin to notice autopilot moments. You open an app, a fridge, a tab without any clear reason. Time distortion. You tell yourself, just 5 minutes, and half an hour disappears. Inner resistance. When you try to pause, there is irritation, anxiety, or boredom that feels unbearable, even though nothing is wrong. Value dissonance. You say you value clarity, health, growth, but your daily patterns constantly pulls you in the opposite direction. Emotional masking. You notice you often reach for comfort when you feel lonely, rejected, stressed, or uncertain. These signs are not accusations. They are invitations. Invitations to see more clearly what is happening inside you. Instead of judging yourself from the outside, Seneca might say, "The habit is not your enemy. Your refusal to look at it honestly is." How to reclaim your freedom without hating yourself. Reclaiming freedom from the comfort trap does not mean you must live a joyless life. The Stoics drank wine, went to gatherings, enjoyed friendship and conversation. The difference is this: They did not want their happiness to depend on any of it. Here are a few gentle practices, not rules, not commands, just possibilities. Pick one habit of comfort, not the biggest one, simply one that feels safe to experiment with. Ask, what happens if I don't do this today? Not forever, not for a month, just today. Do you feel restless, irritated, strangely empty, surprisingly fine? Whatever appears is useful information. You are not testing your moral worth. You are testing your freedom. Choose one habit and pause for one day. Observe the feelings that arise, restlessness, anxiety, or ease. This shows where the roots truly are. When people try to stop a habit, they often replace it immediately with another distraction. Less social media, more gaming, less streaming, more random browsing. The Stoic and Buddhist way is different. Rather than instantly filling the gap, they invite a little space. In that space, you might sit quietly for a few minutes, walk without your phone, write down what you are feeling, simply breathe and observe. This is not punishment. This is rehabilitation for the mind. You're allowing your inner world to come into focus again. It is difficult to move away from a habit if you don't know what you're moving toward. So you might ask, what value do I want this change to serve? Perhaps clarity, health, attention, spiritual depth, self-respect, and capacity to love. Then each time the urge appears, you are not only saying no to the habit, you are saying yes to something you've decided matters more. The habit becomes not forbidden fruit, but simply a path you are choosing less often. Seneca says that if we never give up what we are addicted to, courage will vanish and the greatness of the soul will be lost. Why? Because courage is not built in moments of comfort. It is built when we stay present with discomfort. We face our fears honestly. We walk through difficulty without fleeing to our usual escape. Greatness of soul, what some traditions call nobility of spirit, is not about impressing others. It is about having an inner life that is not dictated solely by appetite, impulse, or fear of missing out. When you let go of one small comfort for the sake of something deeper, you are making a quiet declaration. My life is not here to worship ease. It is here to become something true. That's what Seneca meant by disdaining as petty what the mob regards as most desirable. Not hatred of pleasure, but a higher love for strength, clarity, and depth. It is easy, after hearing all this, to turn against yourself. I'm too weak. I'm addicted to everything. I've wasted so much time. But guilt is just another trap. If it doesn't lead to understanding, a more helpful attitude might be, of course I developed these habits. The world around me is built to encourage them. But now that I see it more clearly, I have the chance to relate to comfort differently. You do not have to become a monk. You do not have to renounce the world. You are simply invited to remember that your freedom is worth more than any habit. Today, we explored the idea that our greatest losses of freedom often do not come from dramatic events, but from quiet, habitual patterns we never examine. We saw how digital stimulation, instant entertainment, porn, gaming, news, food, and even emotions can become small chains that together form a subtle prison. Different traditions, Stoic, Buddhist, Taoist, Confucian, Christian, Islamic, psychological, all point to a similar concern: the danger of living on autopilot. We reflected on the possibility that, Real freedom is not the absence of desire, but the ability to pause, to choose, and sometimes to lovingly walk away. Thank you for spending this time in reflection. If this video brought you even a small moment of clarity, calm, or recognition, please consider liking and subscribing to this channel. May you find gentle, honest ways to loosen the grip of the comforts that no longer serve you and to move a little closer to the kind of freedom your soul quietly longs for. Thank you for watching and for walking this path of awareness and wisdom with Daily Wisdom Light.